Hello, everybody. Welcome, one and all, to NUFC Talk TV. You're going to have to move across a little bit, dude. You're on the edge. You're on the edge.
No, but that way, Ahmed.
That's fine. He's fine. So, yeah. Welcome, one and all. Gary, Boki, and Amrit with us. There's probably going to be a couple of others join us as we go on. There's not a lot out there, to be fair, to discuss, but we've got a little bit. And I'm going to try and get the reaction of the panel as we go. So welcome, one and all. But before we get into tonight's show, let's do the housework and then we'll crack on. Welcome to everybody watching across the platforms. Thanks to everybody that works in the background. Don't forget to hit that like button if you enjoy the show. Just helps us get further as a channel. Subscribe, totally free. And obviously, if you want to support the channel, you can become a member, small monthly fee, different levels to choose from, and you can watch at your heart's content. If you've got a question for either of the panel, then put a Q in front of it if you can. Just helps us highlight it in the chat. But it ain't guaranteed, so apologies for that. So if you want to guarantee it, then use the $, throw us a super chat, and then we'll go from there. And obviously, everybody that becomes a member or any of our lovely members that gift the memberships out there will be thanked and highlighted as we go. So, Boki, Amrit, and Jefferson, welcome once again on this Monday the 30th. It is the date that everybody said is the starters orders, if you like. And obviously, everybody thought that there's going to be lots of noise out there with us with the 30th of June, pickpocketing the likes of Aston Villa, who are obviously always mentioned to be at the ceiling of the PSR struggle. And obviously now they've obviously found the loophole, same as Chelsea, which seems that 55 million sale of the women's side to a sister at the Villa seems to have got them cleared of that. Frustrating for some of us, I must admit, because like I said, it was widely mentioned that we were looking to go and ply the coffers in the same situation as we was with Anderson and Minte, losing two good players, if I'm honest with you, that really not really derailed us, but it certainly upset the apple cart a little bit. When it came to J7 getting injured, we didn't seem to have a like-for-like placement. And then, obviously, Minte, an unproven player, if you like, in the Premier League, seemed to really hit the ground running at Brighton. So I wanted to start the show off by just asking the question, and I'm going to start with you, Boki. We had a little bit of a chat in the green room, and we were talking about, the potential of Newcastle doing something similar last season. But I just wanted to get your thoughts. How do you feel now the likes of Chelsea and Aston Villa have followed suit? Do you think Masters has got it right this time with the Premier League?
I think it's a loop around, isn't it? And it's a massive thing that's come out, is that you can get around the full financial fair play by doing this sort of thing. As we were discussing, Gary, I mean, Chelsea got, what was it, 200 million for their women's team. I mean, how the hell you can justify 200 million? How much would ours be worth? And we were saying, could you get away with 25, 30 million? No, probably not. Probably looking at 5 or 10 for us because of where we are, the league below. So do you push a lot of money into the women's team to get them up next season, to then get them so that we can do something similar? But is that really the right thing to do for football? Is that the way we want things to go, that sister clubs own our lasses team? Do you just want everybody to be as part of the club? And how does it work with if we do get a new DOF, director of football, how does it work with them? Do they still have an in-say into that subsidiary team then? It just all seems a bit... It just all seems a bit false to me.
Yeah, I mean, we're looking at, financial fair play, right? And these are the words that, we all talk about and we've all spoke about at length in the past. And you have to ask your question. You obviously hit the nail on the head with the 200 million. Now, listen, Chelsea have won the WSL. They've done really well in the Champions League. They're obviously a force within that league. But 200 million, does that seem like fair value? Now, the way I look at it is it's a forecast, right? So the guys who have thrown this 200 million in have forecast that Chelsea's women's team in 25 years is going to be as strong as the men's team. Now, that's like, like I said to our listeners and watchers the other day, well, can't we forecast what we're going to be like in 25 years? Because like you said, you look at the trajectory of our ladies team over the last couple of seasons with a little bit of input, and we've come on leaps and bounds. Now, yes, you could say you're quite right in saying by throwing more money into the equation, there ain't no reasons why our ladies in 25 years couldn't win everything, given the right money. So is it worth a punt at 150 million? You know what I mean? That's if they're looking at it for 25 years, and that's where they've got this 200 mil from. I mean, Aston Villa's ladies team went for 55 mil, finishing sixth in the WSL. So when you look at fair value, seems a bit more realistic to me than the 200 million spouted by Chelsea. Amrit,
Yeah.
hello, buddy. How's your feelings, mate?
Listen, my feelings are like, come on, let's be honest. Hello, Jefferson. Hi, Andy. Hi, everyone. Hello, everyone at home. Listen, let's be honest, right? And you can hear me okay? Mike's okay?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Right. So the Blues sold their women's team to themselves and reported a £128.4 million profit. It's clever. It's
Very
really
clever.
clever. But, and then there was that whole debacle about how they sold a hotel and they sold, training ground and what have you. They're generating money to reinvest into their club. Now, let's take a little step back, right? And just think, if we were to do something like that, I don't think we're going to get away with it because of, the PIF and all the rest of it. We are in for more scrutiny than Chelsea are at the end of the day, right? So, I'm looking at it, I'm thinking they're very clever for doing what they're doing, very clever. And goodness knows where the FIFA World Cup is going to go, but there's another big chunk of money for that. And if Man City win it, which they're hot favourites to, they're gonna cop another 2 or 3 worldies and probably take the Premier League title. You've got to think this PSR really only came about around the time we got to COVID, really. Let's be honest. And is it doing football good? I don't think it is. I personally think that we should be able to put in whatever we can. And yes, they brought that regulation in because we've got an unlimited bankroll, yeah, and that's what they wanted to do. PIF took us over, and we were celebrating because we're like, right, Messi, whatever, whoever wants to come here, they can come here because we've got enough money to do that. And now we're playing this ridiculous game where Chelsea are just exploiting loopholes. I think we should exploit loopholes, right? We haven't got anyone over the line now. Come on, let's not beat around the bush, guys. We were having a drink the other week, round the corner from mine. Yeah, let's not beat around the bush. Jefferson, Andy, listen. At the end of the day, we haven't got anyone over the line. And it's worrying. It's worrying because you're hearing the likes of Nottingham Forest have turned down 40 million for Olanga. They want 60, and we're saying no. It just sounds like the whole gay scenario again. Do we have a limit to what we can spend this season? Yes, we do. We have a limit, but let's bring in some players. Let's get players ready for the preseason. You remember, we signed players historically quite late in transfer windows. But I would like us to sign a first team player that walks in early in the transfer window. so that Eddie can do what he needs to do prior to season kicking off, and then we've got another player in and amongst it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and everyone thinks, oh yeah, maybe we need a midfielder, maybe we need this, maybe we that. Let's be honest, guys. Callum Wilson, we need a replacement. We need someone in there. We've got Ursula, who's doing well. He's doing well, but we need a replacement there. Jacob Murphy was on fire last season, and I would like to see him play exactly the same way he's played this season. But everyone's thinking he's going to drop off. Now, there's no reason why he should drop off, but we may need someone in that position, just in case he does.
Okay.
So somebody give him a run for his money. And
okay, I just stop there because I want to track back a little bit before I bring Jefferson in, because obviously we're still talking and we're going a bit further down the road. So let's just back it up a bit. You obviously just said about we need to find loopholes and things like that. Again, conversation that me and Boki have just had. When Amanda Staveley went in with hat in hand to get us in the, to get Piff on board. There was obviously misdemeanors that had to be corrected. There was obviously a lot of payments had to be made. And there was a lot of, I suppose, a lot of things had to be promised. Potentially could be one of the reasons why we haven't bent rules or tried to get on the wrong side of Masters. Because I honestly believe, and we've said this in the past, I think the way Newcastle have come in and, we have been held back by the rules and regulations. They do want the status quo to remain as it is because it's obviously selling the Premier League, and it's a Premier League as a business. So these guys will not want the status quo upset because that's what the minute is allowing them to have, all these games televised. They're getting all this revenue in. Yes, the clubs make the revenue as well, but Premier League make a hell of a lot of money from the status quo that's in situ. So they're not really going to upset. The one thing that really pees me off, if I'm honest with you, there's 20 teams around this table that have to agree for what goes forward. And it seems to be, as much as everybody argues the toss about the status quo being at the top and taking the cream of the milk, they still agree with it. It still takes 14 tick boxes, to actually say that we're going to continue with this regime. And to me, it just seems a little bit crazy.
Totally agree. And
the American owners as well, isn't it? The amount of American owners in the Premier League.
And don't West Ham and Crystal Palace or something have some legacy votes or something like that?
Something like that, yeah,
They always
exactly.
seem to back the Big Six for some reason, especially Parish, which is why he gets on my nerves.
Yeah. Right then, buddy. Jeff, as you've jumped in there, let's see your views then on your feelings about, what's happened at the Villa now. Obviously, that door seems to be closed because I want to come back to Pedro and obviously have a look at what's happening now with Chelsea. Because, again, obviously, Amrit went down that little rabbit hole. And I just want to put to bed the Aston Villa thing, and then I want to move on to Pedro.
1 second. I mean, Chelsea are looking over our exam paper and seeing who we want and signing them. They know that we are threatening. Listen. We go out next season with the squad we've got now. We're gonna do exactly what we did the other season, where we got tired, we got injuries, all the rest of it. But I'm going to let Jefferson come in, like as you say, Gary. But Chelsea are peeing me off a little bit. I really hope they get knocked out of the World Cup.
You know what? It's a bit concerning in terms of it just feels like we're not learning from the past. For starters, these leaks of players we're interested in, how's it getting out into the public? Because I remember that was happening a lot with Aston Villa, actually. I remember we wanted Diego Carlos. We wanted Kamara. And it just felt like Villa were sweeping up our scraps. And then last season, we had it with, Tosin and all of that stuff. And I think what we have to get out of this is what I'm talking about, this sort of small mentality of, but they wanted London, though. But they didn't want to come. We're making so many excuses. No. It's because the project hasn't been sold correctly. There's always a fighting chance. What have we done enough to persuade someone to come? It's far too easy to say, yeah, but they wanted Manchester. Oh yeah, they wanted London. If you look at Cunha and potentially Mbeumo, who could be going to Man United, they have no Europe and they have no Champions League. How have we not been able to get those over the line? Particularly someone like Cunha, who you could easily say, look, you've got your international teammates, Joe Linton and Bruno. Do you not want to play with them? How's he suddenly been like, nah, don't fancy you lot, I'll go Man United? Liam Delap, again, that's someone that's really young. He's coming from Ipswich, That's the thing. Wolves, Brentford, Ipswich. We can't even sign players from smaller clubs. So I'm fed up with us making excuses. I'm also fed up with us going 3 years into the past. The club was in a very different place. The project was in a very different place.
Too
The
right.
fact of the matter is we have not made transfers in 3 windows. We are not active and we're not proactive. And I think there's a real disjointedness in every facet of the club, which has also led to division amongst fans. And I think the board have to stand up and either be clear with their comms and say, this is the direction we're heading in. This is our aims and our objectives, because it just feels a bit wavery at the moment. And then when we're looking at how other clubs are operating and behaving, instead of watching and be like, oh, damn, they've done it again. Oh, well, why are we so soft? We should be like, all right, how can we adapt? Because it's adapt to survive. And yeah, listen, okay, we've been burnt once before, but remember, we had Nick DeMarco. He won us the case. So if we've done it once, we can do it again. There's no harm in taking a risk. Everyone fears, well, we're going to get relegated. We're going to get minus 20 points. We would have the case to say, hold on a second. Everton didn't. Forest didn't. So we would win the court case, because any sort of excessive force or punishment on us would show subjectivity from the Premier League.
Yeah.
So it's come to a point where we need to stop being shy little lambs.
Yes.
Copy the others. If you can't beat them, join them and start taking some risks, because
Truth.
we're just going to be at the back of the lunch queue all the time.
Totally.
All the time.
Jeff,
Yeah.
let's face it as well. Part of this is with wages as well. We're not offering the wages that are like. Pedro will go to Chelsea on what, 350 a week, probably 300, 350. We're not offering anywhere near that in wages. We're just so far behind when it comes to wages with players.
And
We have to sacrifice some players, because at the moment we could potentially have 6 goalkeepers, which is absolutely astounding, and we just have to cut the fat. So, I'm saying Eddie. It might not be Eddie, but we know what Eddie's like. That sentiment of Longstaff, Willock, anyone that isn't playing, they need to go. And when you're hearing there's interest from Fulham for Willock for 25 million, get him out the door. Why are we even looking at re-signing Wilson? We just need to get what's the word? Ruthless and relentless. And this is why I think we need that CEO that will challenge Eddie and say, great idea, but no, let's go with this.
Because totally right, mate. Totally right. Get what you're saying. Totally agree with what you're saying. But I think Eddie is slightly emotional when it comes to letting go of players. The likes of Longstaff, the likes of Wilston, the likes of Willock. He's praised these players before, but regardless of that, though, when you start thinking about it, though, right, Man U can offer Brian and Mbeumo how much? They can offer him a lot of money per week, right? But this is the question, and this is where you start to think, well, actually, if Mbeumo chooses Man U over us, I start to think that Mbeumo's not really what we want. Mbeumo's not with the programme. Do you get what I'm trying to say, Gary? Because Bruno can move. Bruno can move tomorrow and win and go elsewhere. But Bruno loves the town. And Mbeumo doesn't seem like he's got any, this is the thing, any loyalty. He's going to Man U. They've rejected 62.5 million. They're going to want more than that. And great, Man U will probably sign him in the end. They've got a great revenue. They've got half of Asia buying shirts and subscriptions to Man United TV. Do you get what I mean? But what I'm trying to say to you is that Mbeumo moving from Brentford to Man U, some would argue that's a step down at the minute. You get what I'm trying to say to you?
Well,
we're battling against that, guys. We've got,
I mean, Jefferson's just talked about the project there and how we sell the project. I mean, a lot of these players are just going for the badge because there's no project there.
Exactly.
You know, you are, and welcome along, D-Man. Lovely to see you, matey. You know, for me, it's nostalgia. When you look at the other United and you look at the badge, you know, the Red Devil, when you say that you've played for this club, it doesn't matter where they've been at the time of you performing there. People will always recognise you as a player. That's how it feels to me, where players want to go to. I don't know whether you guys...
They're not fierce, guys. Not anymore. Like, there was a time where we used to poop ourselves and be on the toilet about 7 times before kickoff when we went to Old Trafford. Right now, I'm sitting there waiting for kickoff because I think we've got the players to be able to do that now. Do you get what I mean? It's a different ball game. And if Amorim thinks he's going to change the team, fair enough, whatever. But we're not talking about Man U today. We're talking about the likes of Brian and Mbeumo. And it says a lot to me if he wants to sign for Man U over us in the current field. We're in the Champions League. We're going places. If he wants to sign to somebody, he should sign for a proper team.
But lads, any player that's been linked with so far this window, how many are actually going to improve the first team?
Well, that was
straight to the first team.
Strategy is not fit for purpose.
Well, exactly, Jeffers. I put a bet on with DX and Dodge and Wing. I've said I'll give you 20 quid straight away. And Trafford doesn't count because Trafford's not going to walk in over Pope, in my opinion. Right? So Trafford doesn't count. Any player that we sign this summer that walks into the team, and it's on camera and the World Wide Web, I will pay 20 quid to win and 20 quid to DX.
But no player's going to walk into the team, is it? Because
exactly.
No, but that's because but even Tonali and Bruno couldn't walk into the team, and that's on Eddie Howe. You know what I mean?
We'll give it a 2-month period. Anyone that cements their place, like Bruno and Tonali, right? Anyone that cements their place, right? Like literally, like we're talking now, and if we're Eddie Howe, we're thinking, he's thinking, I like Jacob Murphy, I like Sean Longstaff as a backup player. I like Wilson because he's a goal scorer, and if he can stay fit, wonderful. Right or wrong? You tell me.
I mean, it's like I said, you know, for me, Amorim seems to be looking at, you know, all these forward line men, you know, and to me, I go back to the 90s where, you know, Kevin Keegan was famous for winning 4-3s and 3-2s. You know, it's a lot of goals, but we also concede. And Amorim's going to be like that. You know, it'll take more than 2 or 3 players at the other United for them to become a unit again. I think he's got a lot more work to do, especially in the system that he wants to play. You've got to have players to be able to play that, and that's what I said. It's about playing from the back, ball playing defenders, people that are willing to actually get the ball in the final third and actually distribute. And there isn't a player at Manchester United that does that. So it takes more. You know, I'm not worried about the likes of Mbeumo going. I'm not worried about Cunha going. And I've certainly, for me, I think we've dodged a bullet with Pedro. I was never a massive fan of Pedro. You know, you've heard of the training ground spat that he's had, where he's lost his place at Brighton because of this training ground spat. You know, you look at the amount of red cards this lad's had in the past. You know, he's a bit of a fiery character. And I honestly believe, you know, we talk about how much money Newcastle have and the amount of players that they can be bringing in. I think, you know, people said, and I've seen in the chat about people saying, you know, it's taken Chelsea literally less than 2 weeks to get this deal done. We haven't got the same money to throw around as Chelsea. That is the biggest problem. You know, this is what I keep saying. When they're willing to go and just jump on board and go £58 million with £12 million add-on, and I believe there's something on a buyback or something like that. They've got first refusal, Brighton. it's money that they can get rid of and not worry about it because they've actually got it there in the bank.
Gary, I have to
That
challenge
Gary,
you to an extent that
Go on then.
negotiations have been poor, not just this season, last season. We're consistently lowballing teams, and it insults them, and it doesn't bring them to the table. So we need more incentivization by just saying 50 million. That's not gonna wash. But if we said, okay, 50 million plus 10 if we qualify for Champions League again, something that's very tangible, they're more likely to accept it. If we keep lowballing teams, that is amateur negotiation.
But
I agree with what you've just said there.
Andy Howe in place and not a proper director of football.
Yeah, I agree with what you've just said there. But how many times did you see in the chat when people were saying £50 million too high? I wouldn't pay a penny more for this lad. Now people like yourself are saying, you've got to up your ante. And maybe Eddie Howe said exactly the same. Maybe Eddie Howe saying 50 million is the max that I want to pay for this player.
Let's be honest.
I'm not going to go a million more.
The Pedro thing is a different one because Pedro didn't want to join us. Pedro didn't want to join us. He wanted to live in London. This came out a few weeks ago. My problem is, if this came out a few weeks ago, why are we still stuck on trying to get the player? He obviously wants to go elsewhere, but we seem to be thinking that we can somehow convince him otherwise. No, move on.
It's a mock case scenario.
Yeah, that's it. Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely right.
Okay, let's throw a curveball at that. What D-Man's just said. Then, what if we have gone somewhere? What if we've said, and you talk about the Mark Gay, the truth about Mark Gay was the £50 million was offered. We didn't negotiate any further from that £50 million bid, and that come out of Paul Mitchell's mouth. They wanted to keep upping the ante, which we weren't willing to change. It was still that 50 million bid. Doesn't mean that we're not looking elsewhere because we've still got that. Are. But that's what I'm saying. But the way it sounds, D-Man, sounds is if we've put that 50 million bid in and we're not looking anywhere else.
Yeah, but I think that's a deliberate ploy by the club because there's no way that we can be looking at just Premier League proven players. I know that's Eddie Howe's, his preference, but there's no way. Because in the history, when Nixon was there before, we signed Tonali, Bruno, Isak. There's no way we were just looking at... Because no Premier League club wants to sell to us, let's be honest.
No, absolutely.
So we're not that stupid. We must
know. Why are we there?
No, we try for the player, and if it doesn't work, I believe we're going to go elsewhere.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And that's what I said. I think Eddie's being quite crafty. I think what Eddie's trying to do is he's looking at these players. They've all got a shelf life. They've all got a price in Newcastle's mindset because we now aren't willing to throw easy money away because all that does is tell every other club that you're going to buy from, these guys are like Chelsea. They're willing to throw anything at you. Before I go on, I just want to say thank you to the McKenzie family because they've thrown a $4.99 super chat in. Eddie O said he wanted to start the window early. That's not happened. Hopefully this month is more positive. Great show, guys. Thank you ever so much, the McKenzie family. Now, there's a point to this that again, I brought up a week or two ago, and Eddie O did say that he wanted 2 players in before they start pre-season training. Now, we've only got 19 more days before the first match. So things need to happen. And like I said, I think the reasons why, and again, it's only in my assumption. I have no crystal ball. I don't know anything like this. But I think what we've got to start looking at is the fact that Eddie Howe will be cheeky. He will know how much money he's got in the coffers. And he obviously knows more than anybody else the amount of players we need to go forward with this squad and compete at all levels. And I said 5 was the minimum. And I think if you were to put hand on heart, you'd probably go even further than that.
How much have you got, guys?
Well, my estimate, we know there's probably 125 somewhere around that. I think they're probably up in the region. If they were to really squeeze, you're looking at probably 150. But
okay.
But you've got wages and everything else.
And player sales, you get more player sales, isn't
it? But D-Man, I'm just coming on that point then. So we've got rid of Kelly and we've got rid of Miggy. Yeah. We've got rid of Miggy. 30 million quid. Yeah, that's gone into the coffers. Exactly. That's gone. Right. Yeah. So how now do you think with this when you say about selling players? We've got a very thin squad. We've got very little midfield that actually play anywhere near the what we require. So can we just sell before we buy?
But lads are
No,
focusing in on the right players. At the minute, he's going for a keeper. Do we particularly need a keeper?
Absolutely
Well,
not.
Or not?
okay. Well, hold on.
But-
Let's hit that point then
no,
before we
but
go forward.
can
Hold
I
on, just stay there.
can I just
He
carry on
said,
the point, Harry?
yeah. But let's just hit that point. He said, this is Eddie Howe, because I want you to carry on. He said that 1 to 2% improvement in that position helps 10 to 20% on the field of play because of the ball playing goalkeeper, right?
But
So
then
go on, carry on.
you could say about any position, really. I mean,
Well, no, you can't, because goalkeepers
well,
are exactly the same as strikers.
Well, no, if you get a better striker, you could say a better striker is going to score more than
Well, he has.
3 shots.
we can't get a better striker. We've got one.
That's what I said.
But they're going to increase your strike rate. So I don't really see that point. But the main point is that the two positions we all know we really need to improve was right wing and right centre back. And there's been no talk about any sort of centre back at all. And the right midfield is sort of going cold. I just don't see the point if we've only got a certain amount of money of signing a goalkeeper straight away when there are so many other positions that need strengthening.
I think Elanga gets done before pre-season.
You still think he's going to hit Ilanga?
Yeah.
But you see, that doesn't blow my frock up either.
Well,
Definitely
Elanga will
doesn't
be
really.
well. Look, Elanga will be a good signing, as in he'll be a backup to certain positions, right? Let's just go around the corner, right? Gary, you were talking about Delap. What was wrong with us signing Delap? Like
Nothing.
we're in need of an out and out Chris Wood style striker. Now, believe it or not, that's what I'm saying. A Chris Wood style, nod it in. Asula did a good job on a corner. He's got a bit of that in him, but he's still a year or two off from being mint.
Let's answer your first question then. Let's answer your first question.
What was wrong with us?
Because you keep moving.
Yeah, Delap. We went for Delap.
We went for Delap, right?
And he chose Chelsea.
Okay, so if you're Delap, now let's listen to what players talk about.
Okay.
Because if people, I don't know whether you guys have seen the Jermaine Guinness interview on Talk Shots.
I saw some of that.
Yeah. So he spoke out about the reasons why he left Newcastle. And obviously with Graham Souness coming on board, excellent midfielder in his day, world-renowned player, name behind him, but he was an absolutely useless coach. And he, like a lot of players of that ilk, will look to see what they can achieve in 12 to 18 months' time, especially with the World Cup coming around the corner and everything else. Now, I'm going to put the question to you. If you're Delap, and you've got two offers on the table. You've got one from Newcastle, and you've got to try and take the place of Isak, or you've got one from Chelsea, and you've got to take the place of Nicholas Jackson. Who are you going to compete against?
No, it's not that though, Gaz.
Isn't it?
It's not. No,
This is
it's
Chelsea
Enzo
who
Maresca.
change. They could just be like your flavour of the month. See you later.
Yeah,
and then
exactly.
spend 90 million on someone, and then he takes your place.
Eddie Howe will make the lap a Shearer.
But not from the but he wouldn't get into
from the
Isak.
sub bench. Yes, he's not going to start, is he?
I get that, but you listen, guys. Isak starting every game is not. He has had injuries in the past. He is prone to the odd injury every now and again. He's got a groin problem. But if
you're the lap, you're not going to think, okay, he might get injured for half a season, and I'll get in there. Chelsea have probably promised him first team, because he said he wanted first team football.
Absolutely.
He wasn't going to get that at Newcastle.
Okay.
No. And the World Cup's next year.
And I respect you.
I haven't really watched them.
He has, yeah. He scored his first goal the other day.
Listen, I'm going to say something controversial here. I'm going to say something. Sorry, Jeff.
I was just going to say Isak only started all those games is because Callum was always injured. And then even when he came back, he wasn't fit. So the idea of if we had an actual second choice centre forward, Isak would have played way less games, and he probably would have been rotated more and subbed.
Yeah, but
more.
who he
This
wants
And
to
is
be.
now we've
saying,
got
though.
8 more games.
But
in the
Delap wants to be the
Champions League.
main man. Delap wants to be the main man. He's not going to be the main man at Newcastle.
No, listen.
But
I
at this
get what you're
stage in his
saying, D-Man.
development, that's a silly expectation.
It's silly, but that's what he wants.
No,
He's
but
21.
Jefferson,
yeah,
D-Man,
But
I
it's
get
the
what you're
World
saying.
Cup next year. That's what
Listen.
I'm just saying to say. The
But
World
he's not
Cup
gonna start
pulls a
above
lot of
Harry
players.
Kane, though. He's not going to start above Harry Kane.
Sorry, Amit, sorry, go on.
We're arguing about this position.
No, but listen.
Up front.
That's right.
Is that the position that's really the issue?
Yeah,
No.
that's what it's not.
It really, when you've got the right
On the
again, you've
basis
got the
of
right
having a
back,
squad,
sorry,
it
right back
is
and
though.
right midfield.
Okay.
One,
You've
one
got
at a time.
nobody
Having
replaced-
Yeah, hold on, one at a time, guys, because in my ears, you guys are just
I know.
muffling each
Listen,
other.
can I say something, guys?
Hold on,
right?
let Boki finish.
Go on,
His-
Boki, come on.
his-
Yeah, Boki.
I was just saying, is the striker the main position that we've got issues at? I mean, we need to get another striker in, but Isak is brilliant.
Yeah.
Whereas right midfield, right centre back, we haven't got great players in them positions.
Look, he's
That should be the position that we need to get players in.
Boki, you're absolutely right. And Jefferson and D-Man, you're absolutely right as well. Right? But let me pose one scenario to you, yeah? Scenario A. Isak gets injured. Scenario B. Isak and Gordon get injured. We are fucked. Sorry, excuse my language. We are, aren't we? Right?
Yeah.
This is what I'm trying to say to you. Like, even if Eddie told Isak to go into a number 10 role, which he's probably gonna do better at than being an out and out hard nails number 9, and then put Delap in, or you do remember, guys, Jefferson, D-Man, Gaz, you remember this, Boki. There was a big competition between Isak and Callum. Callum used to come on and score a couple of goals. Then Isak came on and scored a couple of goals, and it was a hard decision for Eddie for a certain
for a
period of time.
Can I address it though? Can I address what you said?
Go on.
Okay, so the first thing with your scenarios, right? First of all, with the Isak number 10, Isak scored 20 plus league goals in consecutive seasons, right? There's also speculation surrounding his future. So what would that conversation be like from Eddie? I'd say, okay, we know Liverpool want you, or there's speculation that Liverpool might want you. What we want you to do is to drop back and be a number 10 and not be our main man. How do you think that conversation goes?
No, that's a really good question. And again, Eddie will have to post it in the right way to say, right, what we can do is we're either going to start you as a number 9, or we're going to start a more attacking setup with Delap right at the front as a main man, which he is the main man.
For us.
It's not a problem.
Understand is we're talking like it's only 11 players play the game.
It's not.
We're going to have 8 extra games in the Premier Continental competition. Like, we're going to have to, if we want to try and get another cup, fight on 4 different fronts. There's more than enough games for everyone, and you simply say to Isak, you're our crown jewel, so we want to preserve you, and we're going to play you and guarantee you starting in the biggest and most important games.
As a striker, as a striker.
We're so sorry we've had to make you overwork the year before.
That's right.
We didn't have a reliable striker. Now our priority is to look after you.
But listen, that's fine. As a striker, not a number 10. He's not doing a number 10.
Okay, fair enough.
No, I would still have him as my 9.
Yeah,
right.
I have him as a 9. Yeah.
I don't think Isak is opposed to a rest here and there, but it's the upper striker. How do you pose that to someone who said to you, I want first team football, to say, okay, we're in all these competitions, you're going to get a few rounds of games. No, I want to be the main man. That's why I'm coming.
I'm Eddie, and I'm talking to Delap, right?
Yeah.
And I'm saying, Delap, son, this is the crack. We've got a really good number 9, yeah? And he's going to be playing a lot of games, but we're going to need a lot of good performances in the background, which means that you will get a lot of first team football. You will get a lot of starts. And if you start banging them in, more so than our number 9, you start asking the questions. But I promise you one thing, as Eddie Howe, I will make you a better footballer than you are now. And that's exactly what he will do. And Enzo Maresca will not necessarily do that.
No, but Enzo Maresca just said to him, you're going to be our main number 9. You're going to be playing most of the games. It's a no-brainer.
Yeah, well, it's a definite no-brainer when Chelsea offer him a 10-year contract and say, "I'm going to
And he
give you this,
doesn't
that, and the other."
score.
Yeah,
And they bring someone
and then
big
he
in.
does it.
If he
And then
doesn't score, that's
yeah.
up to him, isn't it? But if he's getting the opportunities, that's all he wants, the opportunities.
The thing
Yeah?
is, the guy's made for life now. He signed a
Mm.
contract that we cannot compete with. We're not going to give anyone a 10-year
Because
contract.
you got to look at it like this as well. Like, I know he's young, but he's played a season of Premier League football as the main man, right?
Yeah.
So
The only man.
and he knows he's in
Yeah, yeah.
demand.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
why am I going to go to a team where I'm going to play a limited number of games? I'm going to be the number 2 now. Yeah, unless you're going to like a
Because
Real Madrid or something like that, you can understand. But no, I want to. If I'm playing Premier League football, I want to go to a club. I don't think Chelsea's the best move for him because
no.
I think he should have gone to an Everton or something like that and then gone to onto a bigger
Yeah,
team. But
yeah.
I just don't see him coming to us to be our number 2. And that's the difficulty that we face, because it's similar to what Tottenham had with Harry Kane. When you've got such a good number 9, how are you going to get somebody who's going to be willing to come in of quality to say you're going to be number 2 and you're going to have to wait for your opportunity?
Well, it wasn't.
That's
It's not
half the
waiting.
question. Is sort of the people who can do that, but you have to pay them the wages.
There's
So
that as well.
if the wages are high, then they're willing to wait the chance. The problem we've got is that we're not willing to pay massive wages to players.
No, but we need to sell the stack back to ourselves, and then sell old St James's back to ourselves again for another 400 million, and then we'll be all right, won't we? But then
Well,
Yeah.
we've sold Win for 400,000. So
Where is it? Where is he?
I have. He's got lots to do. I mean, like I say, we're in the off season. He's got properties and stuff like that. He's
got a
got
lot to do,
jobs
yeah,
to
yeah.
do
Yeah,
in the off season. So we're leaving it to him.
I speak to him every day, and he's all good.
He's all good. Yeah.
He's
Now,
busy.
unfortunately, I can't get this on the screen, but I'm gonna put it on the screen because I don't want people to say that I'm talking BS. Now, this was from the Liverpool Echo, and I've highlighted here, and the highlighted bit states Alexander Isak reportedly wants to leave Newcastle United this summer, as Liverpool continue to be linked with a sensational move for the forward. The 25-year-old has been a revelation since joining the Magpies from Real Sociedad in a deal in roughly 63 million in 22. And then obviously it goes on to talk about Alexander Isak. So
Didn't go on about the Carabao Cup final though, did
well,
it?
it does actually. It does. It does. It does say Alexander Isak was one of the goal scorers against us in the Carabao Cup final. Listen, this to me. I think we all look as fans on the importance of incomings, and we know for us going forward, the importance of players coming through the door is paramount. But for me, I think Eddie Howe's got a lot more to deal with because of unrest in players. We've seen what happened to Anthony Gordon last season with the links to Liverpool. If there's any truth behind this, I think we've got a lot more worries and issues on the cards. Now, listen, I know what people are going to, and I'm one of them. He's contracted till 28. He's a Newcastle player until 28. But it's surprising what players can do in these type of positions where it becomes difficult to fill. So I am very much in the camp of, yes, we do need a goal scorer. We do need somebody other than the likes of Callum Wilson, Anthony Gordon, that's going to run through the middle for us. And obviously there was a lad being mentioned of Sammy Aguiawa. That was easy for me to say. 20-year-old Spaniard playing for FC Porto. Now, this lad's a goal machine, right? In Porto, he's somewhere
Portuguese league, though, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. This is what I'm saying. It's the Portuguese league. I mean, he's obviously played in the World Cup, the Club World Cup. He's got 3 appearances, and I believe he scored 2 gols.
Well, that's good. That's good as well, though. That's
but in the league, if you look at him in the league, his turnover for Porto is outstanding. It's somewhere in the region of, I think it's something like 23 goals. There you go, 28 goals with assists.
Amazing.
Yeah, so in 41 appearances.
We'll have some of that.
So for me, again, Newcastle have been heavily linked with this lad. He comes at a price of around about 53 million euros. They're going to want more than that. And as you said quite openly and honestly, we've got to stop being a club that are going to have, just putting in a bit of a bum offer to start with. We've got to go in there with some intent, and I agree with that. Sorry, I didn't realise you guys couldn't see.
No, it's
see
fine.
that very
It's
well.
fine. I was going to say something, but we put in skinny offers just like your arms, Gary. Then what we're going to do?
Yeah,
You know what I mean? They're going to just reject it. You know what I'm saying? Like at the end of the day,
This sounds a little bit like the lad that what was he called? Begins with P, that went to Leicester from us.
Perez,
Yeah,
yeah.
it sounds a little bit like him.
Ayozo Perez was a fantastic footballer.
He was.
Yeah,
He's had a
He had the
resurgence
same
at the
sort of
moment.
record and coming to us.
amazing footballer.
and this is a cracker from team season, and this just goes to point a little bit towards what I was going to say. It looks great on paper, but look at this. Núñez got 42 goals in that league. And look what he did in the Premier League.
Sometimes,
I
though,
get
it's
that.
about the styles, isn't it? I think,
And it's the squad that you're playing with, man.
And just to touch on Núñez, this is the thing that people aren't realizing is Núñez was when Klopp was fighting with their director of football. Was it Edwards?
Edwards,
And
yeah.
then he left, and then Klopp took control and signed Núñez.
Instead of
That's
Isak.
what happens when you give the manager control. It doesn't work.
Because Isak was the other option.
He only liked him because he did well against them in the Champions League.
In the Champions League, yeah.
Same with, he didn't want Salah, Klopp, as good as he is. He wanted Julian Brandt.
Yeah.
And luckily, they went against him. So this is what I'm saying. You can't always go with what the manager is saying. Look at Erik ten Hag. When I know people don't like Ashworth, but before Ashworth, they had the German guy. What's his name?
Ragnick.
Ragnick. The guy, he went from sort of caretaker manager. He was meant to be director of football. He made recommendations of players, including Julian Alvarez and stuff like that. And Erik ten Hag was like, nope, I want to do it my way. And look at the dross that he signed. So there's a pattern that comes here. You can't give the manager full control, let alone, family-related partners. Just get a professional in who has skilled acumen, can lead the recruitment team, and can conduct proper negotiations. Look at what he did with Lloyd Kelly. That was a robbery. How we managed to get 20 million is unreal. So just imagine what he could do. But if it's not him, get a replacement in. So I don't know what's going on.
I agree, but the thing is...
Sorry, D-man. You
go on, D.
I was just going to say, on that one, I agree. But at this stage of the process now, there's no point in bringing somebody in now. Similar to what we did with Mitchell. We brought him in halfway through and he couldn't really influence much. So we're going to have to ride out this transfer window with Eddie and Andy, doing their thing. And hopefully, and Nixon, hopefully they get the job done. And then bring someone in for the next future transfer windows. Because otherwise, this is going to be a sham again. There's going to be a butt of heads and we're not going to get nothing done. So...
Is it tactical by the board? Is it a case of let him hang himself? Is that the situation we're looking at?
Well, we'll see if they back him first.
I'm going to say he's got to be back first because Wynn has this conspiracy that the PIF just don't want to back him, and we've seen in the last 3 windows there's been no incomings, and you do start to worry, not worry, you do have to question of whether they've got full belief behind what's going on with Eddie. I mean, like I said, it does make us look a little bit unprofessional when we've gone through, in the time that Eddie's been appointed, we've gone through 2 DOFs, and obviously we're losing our CEO through to illness. And for me, the one thing that I always look at is surely you've got to have a stable behind the scenes before you've got a very good stability on the scene. So, for me, for every performance that the boys have had last season, it seemed as though there was still a little bit of unrift between certain individuals. That needs to be sorted going forward. And you're absolutely right, D-man. Pointing somebody now, whether it's this Hopkinson or not, who got a great background, he seems to be the ideal candidate if that's the right word. for the CEO job. He's been involved in lots of projects, high-end projects, and got really great results. He's been involved in football with Real Madrid, so he's certainly the right person for the job. For me, it's a case of Darren Eales is going to be gone anyway, so why not get him on board? Why not get him on board and start, get some stability in the background, the handovers being done and things like that. Now, I'm not saying it hasn't already started. It's just the fact that we don't hear anything from the club in these roads. Amrit, go on, mate.
So I totally understand what you're saying, and I totally understand the logistics behind it. But, not to say that my job is the same as a day-to-day Premier League manager. But what I must admit, and D-Man, Boki, Jefferson, guys, you'll understand when I say this, is that Eddie Howe has a criteria. And the criteria is very strict. It's on age, it's on the certain degree nationality, certain degree performance, so on and so forth, and demeanor. He's got such a fine criteria for the players. Now he does that for a reason. He does it because he doesn't want a Cristiano Ronaldo jumping into the dressing room and going, "Shut up, everyone! I'm the king. Eddie's not," and so on and so forth. He wants to maintain the discipline within our squad, right? And you guys can fox with what I'm saying here. At the end of the day, right? He's got a very strict criteria. Does Pedro meet that? No.
Well, we're gonna say because we got a no dickhead policy, and then we go for
Exactly.
Pedro. So
Pedro doesn't meet it. And Mbeumo's being a dickhead in himself going to Man U, in my opinion.
I don't think
No,
so.
come on. Listen, are Man U going to finish above us next season?
No, but end of the day, if
you've got to look at what wages he's getting and what
wages and if you grew up supporting
Newcastle,
Man United, then that's his dream club. Remember, he rejected Spurs as well, so he obviously has an affinity with Manchester United that he wants to fulfill. We don't remember. Where is he from?
Cameroon.
Huh?
He probably grew up watching Manchester United in their glory days, and it's a dream to play for them.
They will do. Okay, so fair dues. Okay, I'll give you that one, D-Man. But let's talk about other people. Let's talk about other people that we've been linked with. Alanga for one. I reckon Alanga could be a really good signing, in my opinion. I reckon Eddie will make him into a more refined version of Saint Maximin.
You see, the only thing for me, and again, you go against the grain a little bit here, is because you look at the way Alanga's performed at Nottingham Forest, and we said this, it's very much the outball. He's very much the Salah of Nottingham Forest. He sits on the halfway line. He's got that pace. I just don't understand the logic when we've already got a player like Anthony Gordon who's got pace. If you want somebody to go and sit on the halfway line, you can put Anthony Gordon there.
But Anthony Gordon tracks back.
Because he only works because they got Chris Wood. He only works because they got Chris Wood, who's a different type of centre forward. And also, they play on the counter-attack. We're not a counter-attacking team.
Exactly.
And he's not really shown the ability to actually be able to thread it through. When you've got Isak, if you notice, it works really well, whether it's Gordon, whether it's Barnes. They interchange positions and they can thread the ball through. Bruno can thread the ball through as well.
It's all to floor, isn't it? Not over the top.
Murphy's mainly just whipping in that cross. Again, I haven't really seen Elanga do that. It just tends to be breakaway goals. So
what about foot?
He wouldn't fit our style of play.
Genuine question. What about his link up with Isak for Sweden? Does he have anything there? Is there any?
Again,
it's Gyökeres, isn't it? Mainly
number 10 for Sweden.
Yeah.
Like Amrit was saying, he plays 10, and then you've got Gyökeres in front, and then you've got Elanga and Kulusevski on each side.
Yeah.
But
I mean, they've got good supply into the box. They've got pace as well. But you see, for me, like Akliouche, for me, would have been somebody I would look at. He's a big lad. Somebody, again, you're looking for a target player from set pieces. He's a 6 foot odd player, very low centre of gravity, very strong with his left foot, strong on the right hand side.
Yeah.
And he's got the youth behind him. So listen, I know there's a price on that on that lad's head because of his
Elanga's
ability.
price
We might
is
as well get Dwight
well. Hang on,
McNeil at this point.
Elanga's
Yeah, exactly.
not a full starter for Sweden. By the way, he doesn't start every game. Like Elanga's in his infancy. I think Eddie can tap into Elanga and make him more of a team player, a forward and back player.
But
He's got the
Amrit, can I
fitness. He's
ask
got the
you
fitness.
something?
Yeah.
Why are we still in this fate? And I think this has a lot to do with the manager, I'm
Okay.
afraid, because he's not an elite manager. Why are we still signing players we're having to coach when we're aiming to be a consistently top 6 team and play at the top level in the Champions League? I feel like we're held back by the manager because maybe it's his inability to have a full 11 of elite players. There must always be these players that he has to do them up. They have to be a little project. Let's keep it moving.
But
I
he's got
don't
that. He's got that. But
understand.
the same things happen well, to a certain degree. Pep's got a bunch of players now that are coming back onto his team, and now he's got a problem. His problem is that all those players want to play football, yeah, and all those players are going to want to start. When he gets the likes of Rodri and all the rest of them back, he's got a big decision to make and a big thing to make. But the way he's talked about it, he said, "Listen, guys, this is not you starting one day every game. It's not the case. What's going to happen is because we've got the standard number of matches times by 4 if they go on a couple of cup runs, yeah, we need our squad. We need our squad to come forward, which is what I was trying to say to you about the Delap thing, which is we need you as a starter because Isak's not going to start each game. And if he does, Isak's going to get injured. He's going to need a groin replacement. Do you get what I'm trying to say to you?
So who plays all the
Yeah.
big games?
We're rinsing him.
We're rinsing him. Yeah, we're rinsing him.
One question. Tomorrow the window opens properly and everything's going to go ahead. Who would be your if Newcastle are to make a massive statement? Who would be your first player in through the door?
Okay, so
Javi
I'll go
Simons.
first. I'll go
Okay,
first.
sorry.
Langa. And I would say a striker like Delap, which is very rare. So I would say if Delap was still on the market, someone like Delap. Yeah, that's me.
Victor
D-man.
Boniface for me. I've been
Sorry, go on, Jefferson.
harping on about him for ages.
Okay. Right, okay. And what about you, D-man?
Javi Simmons. Or
Javi
Simons.
Simmons is
Yeah.
listen,
That'd be a great
listen,
signing. That would be.
listen. All of these sound brilliant. But 3 windows down, and we're still not signed a we're still not signed a player. Do you get what I'm trying to say to you?
And
We
lads,
get angry.
can I just ask
Wayne's comment.
another quick question?
Go on, Bogey.
If Trafford and DLC come in, Dominic Campbell-Lewin, what would you say about that?
I'll be livid.
That's a sackable offence, that is. Or close to it.
Arrest him. Listen.
Listen.
Dominic, I don't mind. Listen, I don't mind Trafford, right? I don't say. My only issue with Trafford is I think we're going to overpay for him. Yeah, but it is what it is. Yeah, I think he's a good. He's a potential to be a good keeper, whatever. That's fine, but he's not our priority. But if you bring Dominic Calvert-Lewin, that's sold. Isak's gone. I'm telling you, Dominic Calvert-Lewin for what? The guy's useless. He's injury prone. He's useless.
Okay, no, hang on. But Dominic Calvert-Lewin on the bench.
No, I don't want him anywhere near my club. No.
Is he even a 1 in 5? I don't even think he's a 1 in 5 striker.
No, he's not.
Look at the chance he had against us. He had a sitter and he still missed it.
Yeah, he did that on purpose
He's
because he wasn't dying
useless.
for it. Listen,
But I'm telling you, Eddie's having a look at him. Eddie's having a look at him.
Yeah, he's free.
One thing, boys. One thing. Eddie can work magic on players. Jake, I'll tell you now. During COVID, Jacob Murphy and Isaac Hayden were 2 players that me and Dodge would scream at the. Well, Dodge was in my bubble, so it was like Win was in my bubble. Like we would scream at the TV, going, "What are you doing, man?" This season, last season, Jacob Murphy's come good.
Hayden.
What
What about Hayden?
Is
Hayden's not come good. I don't think. There's not enough magic dust that he can sprinkle on.
I think DLC is only 28 as well, is what you've got to think of.
Yeah, no, I get that, but what I'm trying to say to you is you've got Calvert-Lewin and you've got Callum Wilson, who's
2 sick notes.
yeah, but which one's the bigger sick note out of the two of them? You've got to think.
Which one's the better striker out of the two of them?
Look at
I get that. No, I get
Callum's
that.
like a 1 in 2.5 striker,
Callum's
and
slower,
DCL's a 1 in 5.
Callum's slower, bro.
I'd rather keep Callum Wilson inside Dominic Calvert-Lewin.
What I find funny about DCL, he's living off one season he had under Ancelotti.
Under one of the greatest managers of all time.
One. He's rubbish. He's below our level. Why?
If Eddie Howe
Champions League club
gets his hands on him and Ursula at the same time and develops,
then he should be sacked. Yeah.
No, hang on. It's a free. Let him get our hands on him and see what he can do. Give him a 1-year contract.
All right, all right. Suppose we get Dominic Calvert-Lewin, Elanga, and Trafford, and that's what comes through the door.
Oh, well, I don't want Trafford. I would like Elanga, but
no, but we're getting Trafford. Let's be honest. We're getting Trafford. So
yeah, exactly. It's nearly done.
So what?
I just want to check which competition we qualified for, because this window is dross. Like, did we get in the Conference League or the Champions League? Because the last season, I understand why we were targeting players like Tosin, because effectively we weren't in Europe. We're in the Champions League, guys, and we're in pot 4, which means probably 4 out of those 8 teams are going to be really freaking hard. And I don't know about you, I don't want to go to the pub or sit in my house and watch us get smashed up.
So
let's get some good quality in, not people that are going to fill up spaces in the squad. Quality, either coming into the first team or pressurizing the first team, so that when we make those changes, we don't even miss them. I'm sure Bruno, Tonali, Isak would love to get rested. We overuse them because there's no quality in the squad.
You get that. You get that, Jefferson and D-Man and Pokey and Gaz host today. Like, I'll be honest with you, right? I sat back and I'm thinking in my head, who would we replace out of our starting 11? But it's not about that. It's about who would we rotate out of our starting 11. We can't rotate Tonali for Longstaff. We can't rotate. So, we start thinking about this. Yes, Lewis Miley might come in, but what I'm trying to say to you is that Eddie, for me, is acted very relaxed in the first part of this of the signing window. Now, if we don't sign 5 quality players, we are not getting anywhere in the Premier League, Champions League, Carabao Cup, or FA Cup.
So why are we talking about Dominic Calvert-Lewin?
We're talking about Dominic Calvert-Lewin because I think that.
Sorry, Boki. Sorry, go ahead.
I think Eddie can do something. Boki, go ahead.
I don't think it's a strange situation. I've said this before on the channel that we're not necessarily looking in some positions for better players, which is what you normally do. Is that you look at your squad and you think, who makes my squad better? But in a lot of our positions, it's who can we add to back up that player? And that makes it slightly more awkward because you think, well, do you go youth? Do you go age-wise? Do you go...
It's only striker for that, isn't it? Because we want to upgrade in right wing, we want to upgrade in right centre-back, arguably upgrading keeper.
But I mean, midfield, who would you buy in to upgrade? Joe Linton, potentially?
I've said it.
Yeah, if you're going to be a Champions League team, Joe Linton's the full guy.
Option. Edison is the expensive option. There are options out there. Because believe it or not, as good as Joe Linton is defensively, on the ball, he's quite poor. So part of our evolution is having a left centre midfielder on the part of Bruno and Tonali in possession. Someone who can actually pass the ball.
Jefferson, not always the case, though. Like Bruno, Joe Linton's had some fantastic games. I've watched him live first game of the season,
Yeah, but I think that position, that's the least of our priorities, though, isn't it? That midfield bit is the least of our priorities.
Totally agree with you. Like,
I don't know about that, because if we sell Willock and Longstaff, we're 2 people down. At the moment, Miley...
We've already lost Anderson.
We've lost Anderson. People saying Miley can't play left side. So he plays right side. So we need another central midfielder.
No, we
back.
do. But I think it's more pressing for a right
Already.
winger, and a right centre back. I think those are the two main positions that we need at the moment,
Bulky,
and a backup
Dion,
striker.
Jefferson, guys. Listen, let's be honest, right? I'm seeing a lot of comments coming through on a lot of different forums about Eddie Howe and his decision making and his signings and all the rest of it. There's like, the DLC, like whatever, yeah. Sorry, DCL. That's what I meant to say. Yeah. But what I'm saying is that there's a lot of people starting to have a go at Eddie about this. Like, why haven't we brought in more important players? Why haven't we? I'll be honest with you, Gaz. Gaz, you can back me up here. We talked about this during a lightning storm outside, and I said to you, if we don't sign the right players and we go on a bad run, Eddie Howe could turn into king to like people being like, oh, do you know what I mean? And we say that even after him winning silverware. Do you get what I'm trying to say to you?
Yeah, but this is what we were saying, mate. At this present moment in time, I think what's happened at the club, and it's not just people point the finger towards Eddie Howe. I think it's the club in general at the minute. I think everybody got on board with this promise of a vision, and where we're going to be in 5 years and everything else. And obviously, Amanda Staveley, I want to win the Premier League, and she's been shot down in flames for saying that from certain individuals. We've all got on board this train of going forward with this project, and unfortunately, it just feels as if it's come off its rails a little bit. Now, with what's happened with the DOF, and I mean, there's lots of people in the comments, and I'll get to your comments in a second, been talking, and we all know lots of top clubs work really well with the DOF. And what Eddie Howe has done for Newcastle over the last 3 seasons, I didn't have the foresight in that. A lot of pundits out there in the television land, in the broadcasting lands, were really happy with the appointment of Eddie Howe and said we were going nowhere. And he's taken us on a journey. Now, I've got to that point now where, like I said, where you get to a club being stale, which is where we became at the start of last season. You saw it, the first 15 games, 5 wins, 5 draws, 5 losses. We were in a no-win situation. It was a case of Eddie was getting hammered for everything he was doing. Who was at fault for not bringing players in? Who was at fault for relying on the squad that was in situ before Tonali's ban was over? There was a lot of question marks thrown at Eddie Howe. And as we said, this season, I think, is going to be a season that shows who Eddie Howe is as a coach, as a manager, if you like. Because, for me, the one thing that I have noticed, having 2 DOFs in the front door and then out the back door, is it sounds as if Eddie Howe is potentially unmanageable. So does it mean that we need somebody in the helm who's a bloody good manager, who's willing to take the task? And, was Eddie Howe back in the days last season when the England job came up, was Eddie Howe's tenure regarding like the likes of PIF, was he too big to sack at that time because of what he'd proven with the small amount of work and the squad that he'd worked with? Had he got us to that level of existence where we couldn't sack him? He was too good to sack.
Who's better though?
But you just made a comment about Ancelotti, right?
Yeah,
now, I've said this. D-Man said the Ancelotti word. I've said this for years, and I go back to Vincent Kompany. Vincent Kompany got relegated with Burnley, wins the league with Bayern Munich. Ancelotti did absolutely bugger all with Everton because they hadn't got the players. Yes, they've got the vision. Managers have the vision. Good coaches have the vision. But you've got to have the players on the field to get that vision out there. So it's like Eddie Howe. Eddie Howe has a vision. Now, I'm not saying that the lads that he has got to play the Eddie way are going to be the future of Newcastle, because we know they're not. But what he's given us at this present moment in time is a platform to build off. Now, like I said, because we have gone down a little bit of a one-way street, unfortunately, we aren't really seeing a vision or a plan, because we don't get anything from the club anymore. We don't get any information from the club. So every fan out there in the social media world becomes the manager, becomes a coach. We all have an opinion. We all want certain individuals. We all think certain individuals will work for Eddie Howe and Newcastle United. Unfortunately, I don't think it works that way. And like I said, if DCL comes in and scores 15 goals a season for 2 seasons,
We'll have him.
I'll pat Eddie Howe on the back, because
we'll
it's 15 more goals than Callum Wilson's going to get you. But it's a big if. You know, we've all said that when Callum Wilson was scoring for us, you know, he's definitely worth a 10 goal a season, man. His
More
legs
than
have
that.
gone now.
More than that.
Yeah, but that's when his legs are with him. His legs have gone now.
Legs
He
have
can't
gone.
he
I
can't
don't
beat
think
a
he'll-
player anymore.
He's not getting 10 goals a
and that's
season
where
now.
we're limited.
Yeah.
It is. I really feel like we know what's going to happen ahead. Nobody wants it to happen, but I really feel we have hit a. It sounds silly because we have achieved, but I feel in the long run we will hit a brick wall at a certain point, because we're very limited at the moment. We effectively have a manager that's learning on the go, and what's happened is we've got growing pains. So arguably, when he took us when we were 19th, he was above us, right? I know he got relegated, but his contributions for Bournemouth meant he was more of an advanced coach than Steve Bruce was. So the margin for learning and progression was huge. We
There you
then
go.
achieved that. But then actually some of his mistakes creeped in, that sort of, you know, with the injuries and stuff like that, he contributed towards that, which is why they brought in James Bunce and the like. And I think what's happened is we've kicked on again. I actually feel he pulled a rabbit out of the hat, actually. I do commend him on the 2 runs that we had, particularly the second run.
The second run, yeah.
And I actually think what saved him his job, it wasn't the cup. It was actually getting that Champions League spot, because it's so important to the club off the pitch. But if you look in the long run, it's all starting to add up. Tell me right now, if we had Roberto Mancini in post, do you think we'll be struggling to sign players? Nobody outside of the UK knows who Eddie Howe is. Nobody.
We've got 2 options, Jefferson, as manager. We've either got the option of going with what he's got,
Be right back.
trusting him in and just letting him sign whoever he wants, or getting rid, going with a director of football, CEO who we want, building the team down, and then them choosing their own chief coach, and that chief coach having complete the director of football having complete control over the chief coach, because Eddie Howe's never going to accept that.
Modernizing. I actually do think that, and I do commend Eddie on it. This is why I think Eddie should be back this summer, because he earned it. I think he's defied the odds, because by law of averages, he should have been sacked when I think we were 12th, and we had 5 wins, 5 draws, 5 defeats. They kept him on. Oh God, my battery's going to run out. They kept him on, and he defied the odds. He managed to rescue a bad situation, which then means, well, if they were to sack him, they would look like, you know, it would be something like out of a mafia movie.
Cutthroat, isn't it?
But
So they have to stick with it. They have to, because
Jefferson,
he's not their man.
is that not what big clubs do? They go in and
Agreed.
sack the manager.
I gave an example that was it Sarri. Remember when Chelsea signed Sarri? There was all this fanfare about he was playing this exciting football in Napoli. So he was the fad. It was like, we must have Sarri. They got Sarri in. He finishes 3rd and wins the Europa League. And they're like, nah, that's not good enough. See you later.
When we've won Premier Leagues and stuff like that, we can be in a position to do, because they did the same to Ancelotti when he won the FA Cup. They sacked him. But end of the day, it's a waiting game, isn't it? Because like I said, everyone's talking about this July the 1st, PSR's over. Let's see if they back him. Let's see who he buys. That will tell us a lot about where we're going to be. I think we'd be able to judge by the quality of play that we attract and who he brings through the door and how much we spend.
Can I ask a question? Do you all believe in Eddie Howe?
I believe in him. Can I just say thank you to Iniesta, please, because it's been ages ago, and you guys have just been talking, and I didn't want to disturb you. He's from Sweden, and I think that's 20 kroners, is it? Elanga is not a starter, limited player. So I agree with that as well. So I mean, obviously, he sees a lot of Swedish football.
I love the short, sharp. You know, when
Yeah,
people do short and sharp.
yeah. Well, that's what I said. Exactly, 100%. It's there, isn't it, in the background? Sorry, mate. I went to disturb you. Balky, carry on, mate. Do we all believe in Eddie Howe?
No, I'm just saying, do we all believe in Eddie Howe, or do we think the club needs a structure now?
Like I said, I think it needs leadership. I think it needs somebody in the helm, a CEO for Eels, a DOF, but it needs somebody who's got. And again, you know, who is it that's actually getting these blokes out the door? Is it Eddie Howe? Has he got? Do you seriously think Eddie Howe has got enough clout behind him to get rid of 2 DOFs without being questioned?
It's a common denominator, though, because they pretty much got on fine at their other clubs. I know that Ashworth recently had the issue that I think basically he wanted to get Gareth Southgate in and they chose Amorim, which fine, I understand why he left, but outside of that, these guys haven't had too much trouble, I would say.
But Mitchell has also got a pedigree of leaving the jobs early, hasn't he?
But I think Eddie played that to his advantage, because I think obviously Mitchell didn't help himself, but Eddie waited till full time when we qualified for the Champions League, and then went straight for the beeline for the owner, had this meeting, and all of a sudden Mitchell's gone 2 days after. I think he bided his time, let Mitchell, you know, do what he needs to do, and then say, you know what, you're gonna have to back me now, because I've done my side of the bargain. I want him gone. Now, who's in a position of power in that particular instance? Full time, qualified for Champions League, euphoria, all of that stuff. He's in a position of power. He can go to the owner and say, you know what, I've done my job. You haven't backed me. I need backing now in more ways than one. And it may become an easy decision.
So man, I think you're 100% right there, that he's got in there with 100% power and just said, look, this is what I want. This is what I demand for me to stay. And the club have thought, well, can we go against that? Probably not.
Well, and you look at it, because Eddie Howe came out, I think, soon after, when he was talking about, you never really see Eddie Howe talking about how much we have to spend and whatnot. But he said, listen, he said basically PSL's over. We need to act early, and we've got money to spend. Yeah. So he was talking with a big chest now, because he's earned, you know, he's earned his stripes now, and now he can talk. He's got this, not delusions of grandeur, but he's very powerful in the club now. Yeah, and he can speak freely. So I thought that was very telling.
So I'll be honest with you guys and the boys. I'll tell you straight now. For me, Eddie Howe is a superb manager, and for me, he stays. But there's a but here. Next season, he needs to show what he's got. He's got money to spend. He's now in charge of the spend, more or less. Let's be honest. Let's, put your thumbs up if you think Eddie Howe's in charge of who we sign. Right, there you go then. So at the end of the day, if we sign our players that he wants to sign and he wants to continue on with, guys, he's ready.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, if we start going on a run in the Champions League and get into the semi-finals of the Carabao and the quarterfinals of the FA Cup, and we're in Champions League position again, I'll have it. I'll take it now. Don't know about the results, but I'll take it now.
I like what Iniesta said, and this is what I've said on 90s Mags, and I've said here, that for me, I think linking to what D-Man's saying, for me, the board have been negligent, because what should have happened from day one is, I'm sorry to say it, if we're modernising as a club with the structure, the director of football is the boss of the head coach. However, what you do is you say, right, Eddie, you have your strengths. You can train players up. You can improve them. You're great on the training field. Let's find a way of working together to identify targets. You tell me what you need, and I'll go away and prepare a short list. We can have a look at the list together and make a decision, or whatever that is. So if Eddie has been hard-headed and said, nope, this is how I want to do it, and I've got my nephew over here that can sort us out, What can you do? It is a shame.
Jeff's
They could have and should have found a way to work together, but I still feel the board should have done more. If Eddie did challenge the board, they should have said, "Boy, know your place. Who's paying your wages? This is our club. You don't tell us what to do. There's a structure in place. You have your role. He has his. Be a big man. Get on with it." But they've been too soft because this isn't happening at other clubs, guys. It's not happening.
I slightly disagree with that in that
Okay.
if the director of football came in and he wanted to control over everything, he should have been allowed Ruswedi to say, "Look, you're my employee. You know, at the end of the day, you do what I ask you to do, not have to bow down to him in any way just to say this is Newcastle United. You are under me. You do what I kind of tell you to do."
I'll say it. I'll say
They serve
two
the
things.
club. They're meant to serve the club, not their own interests.
Exactly.
And it sounds to me like Paul Mitchell was blocked.
Yeah.
And yes, it doesn't help that he's come supposedly, by the way, this is reported by Craig Hope. I don't know how legit it is, that he's got XYZ attitude. In a way, I can understand that. Because if you've been successful at Tottenham and other clubs, and you're coming to Newcastle United, who are still on the way up, yeah, I could see why he might be a bit coffee-nosed or a bit arrogant, because we are behind the times and he's trying to modernize us.
If you're the boss, you go in and you say, "This is what I want, not have to bow down to Eddie. This is what I expect from you," sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, who knows what happened behind the scenes? But
Nobody.
From day one, it's hard. You can only read between the lines. Nobody's got actual facts.
Yeah.
But from the two interviews I saw, I can understand Eddie because I still think the whole England thing's bullshit. I think he was shortlisted. I think he was interviewed. I think it's bullshit. I think he was probably one of the top candidates and he didn't get the role. And I think he probably had the ump about that. I know it's probably speculation, but that's my belief.
You're joking.
I think his world turned upside down in the space of a week. He probably felt a bit let down that he didn't get the England job. And then without any notice, he's been told that someone's coming in to, mess with his plans. Because in his interview, he seemed really tense and really frustrated, almost like the rug had been pulled from underneath him. Whereas Mitchell, he's new. He's like, yeah, I can't wait to work with Eddie. This is great. And then in the winter time, when Eddie was under pressure,
for a reason, Jefferson.
One second.
For a reason.
In the winter time, when Eddie was under pressure because we were on a bad run, he had that interview with Simon Jordan, and again, he was a bit tense. Where Simon Jordan was like, just to let you know, the director of football is your boss. You work for the director. He went, no, I don't work for him. We work together. He's not my boss, right? So you could see there was a lot of tension there.
Wasn't there? Yeah.
That links to what D-Man's saying. The minute he got in the ascendancy, he was like, "Your Excellency, let's talk. This is what I want." And it was like a coup. That's how it went down, basically.
We get it. No, we get that totally. Eddie met with His Excellency, and Mitchell was released the next day. He obviously said he didn't want to be with Mitchell. He didn't want to work with him, but that's on Eddie now. Today, we need to figure out what it is Eddie wants and how it is we need to move forward. Now, if Eddie thinks that we are okay with the current squad that we've got, then he's in trouble.
He's not that silly.
Lads, that should
he's not that silly, but with D-Man, why haven't we signed anyone?
Because it's July the 1st. It's not even July the 1st.
Leave it out,
tomorrow.
man. We're doing this shit again. Which
most teams have not signed.
Quickly, D-Man.
But that should have been flipped the other way by the club and just said, "Eddie, look, Mitchell's the man in charge."
We're doing it again.
Not.
Should we not wait for the next 10 days?
Why?
Because this is what we said last transfer window, and the transfer window.
No. I'm saying it could. But at the end of the day, we know that we've got money. We've put in bids for players now, right? So surely, give him. Everyone's talking about July the 1st, right? More players. Aston Villa ain't signed nobody. Spurs ain't signed nobody. You know
Aston
what I
Villa
mean?
don't need to sign anyone, and
Of
Spurs.
course they do.
Well,
Aston Villa finished below us. Of course they do. Spurs definitely need to
Oh,
sign
come
players.
on, D man. You know
No,
we
no.
scraped that, man. Come on, man.
There's very
The
there is.
We
He's
were
absolutely
miles
right.
better
There's
than
very
Villa.
few that have played.
We
No,
weren't,
but
we got
listen.
lucky.
first of
on
all,
that day.
first of all, two things. A 38 game season doesn't lie. Second of all, they're giving back Marcus Rashford, so they still need to get somebody else in. Yeah, they do. Their squad is not perfect. Yeah, their squad is not perfect. If they're going to evolve, they need to buy players. If Aston Villa went to the new season with no new players, their fans will be cussing. They'd be fuming.
And no goalkeeper, by the way, because
And no
obviously
goalkeeper.
Martinez is gone, hasn't he?
So they need to buy players. They still need to buy players.
Guys, before you go any further, because we've had loads of people in the chat. It's been excellent. Hat-trick, I had missed you. 199, thank you. We need quality players. Simmons, please. And we've already said that. Still Badad has gifted a membership, and that's gone to Johnny Toon for Life. There you go. You've got a gift. Johnny Toon for Life, 115. So welcome on board, one and all, and thank you, Still Badad, for that one. We have got loads in the chat. I have highlighted while you guys have just been talking. I've been reeling through them. It's awesome in the chat. Thank you ever so much. Let's have a look at a few of them. A good one from the start. Remember, we have Anthony Cordero had a really good, actually Euros under 19s. He looked half decent, to be fair. And mustered and played early doors. Yeah,
He's
so I think
get loaned out.
He will get loaned out. You're absolutely right, but I think he'll have at least a chance in the pre-season from the 19th. Team season has said, but Trafford has feet problems. He can't claim Corma, so he's an upgrade on Pope. That's a good one as well. Super Mish has put down, if Alanga comes, Murphy will be his backup, in my opinion. Iniesta. It's hard to sell a long-term plan vision without a DOF at the club. Going on very much what Jeff said. Steve Walton 5445. Trafford will cost us 4 or 5 goals with his cocky attitude. You'll see. Iniesta again.
Pop cost us a lot.
Okay.
We'll have 55 plus games next season. Isak isn't durable. We need a striker who's ready to play 20 games.
The Lap ain't coming for 20 games.
What I'm saying though.
The Lap is not coming for 20 games. That's what I'm saying.
What I'm saying though, bro. That's the type of player we needed.
We do, but not the Lap, not a type of player that wants first team football. You telling me we're going to play 20 games out of 80 game season? No, it's not.
Yeah, and the reasons why I went into this next one was exactly that. So it's all right, mate. The reasons why I've starred this one because it's exactly what we were saying. You know, to try and get 2 strikers on the park. Remember the days of Bar and Cisse where Bar went out wide and it was absolutely awful. It just didn't work, but they continued. And that's what I don't want. I don't want us to put players in makeshift areas that just are a detriment to the rest of the team.
But Gary,
it just makes it work.
4-3-3 because even
we aren't, are we anymore?
Because even Eddie, that's what I was about to say. Even Eddie has started to make some tweaks. There's no reason why we can't do 4-4-2, 4-4-1-1. And Eddie, I think was it towards the end of 22-23 season, like Amrit was saying, he was playing both Isak and Wilson at the same time in a 4-4-2. So
but that's when we were pushing for goals when we were behind. He'd always do that to try and, to me, you see,
you need to play the right player.
That's exactly right. Yeah, you can have 10 strikers on there. I mean, I've seen defenders make more of an effort than Wilson's done over the last 2 seasons. If I'm honest with you, Harry Maguire looked more of an attacking threat when he went up front for Man U than Callum Wilson has done. And that to me is where I was coming from before. To please these people, and I never thought the likes of Delap. I'd have loved Delap to come. It's like, McAtee for me. Would he be something to go for? The under-21s side who've just won the Euros back-to-back. Really good players there. RV Elliott, another up-and-coming youngster who looks to me as if he could probably play in a multitude of positions if given the freedom to do so. He likes to, again, he's a worker. He drops deep. He picks up that right-back position. Goes forward down that right-hand side, comes in lovely on his left-hand side, got a good right foot. I'm sure he could play a number 10 role if you're required. And I think he'd do absolutely well. So there's lots of potential from teams that are willing to get rid of. The biggest problem we have, even though these are second string players to some of the big six, they will still come with a heavy price because they don't need to sell.
No.
I mean, for me,
obviously, it's a really good signing, though. Really good signing.
He is. But if you think about it, you look at Leicester. What was his name? Canusi. I thought Leicester had got a bit of a chancer here with that Canusi. Do you remember him?
El
Played.
Canusi, isn't it?
Yeah. He played through the middle for them, didn't he? And he played out on the right hand side. He had interchange, got good legs on him. And again, if you're, it's not what we were looking for. And I'm not saying we should go and look at that. All I'm saying to you is there's lads that have played at a decent level that if Eddie Howe wants to sprinkle a little bit of magic dust on and he's just looking to strengthen the squad for not the top end of the purse, but just a small end, I guarantee you he's better than Lungi that's on our books. Do you know what I mean? So you can change the emphasis on bringing in 3 quality players and a couple of squad players. You don't have to go high end for all 5 players.
Can I say one thing?
Go.
So a good friend of mine, David Allen, who's a very, very avid supporter of Newcastle United, he has said that he puts his full faith in Eddie Howe. Like, I'm the sideline man, and I like to go out there and get everyone's opinion at the ground or along, and a lot of people are just waiting to see what Eddie has got up his sleeve. But I'll tell you now, if we don't sign 5 team players from now until start of season, Eddie's job's up for the grabs if we don't perform to the standard we need to by Christmas.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a big push. Sandro Manetti, he's saying the way you preserve stars like Isak is by filling the roster with good players and can play in the second team. Some of the teams we look down on in the Prem have better second squads than us. Decent. Team season, Gary, whoever the new CEO is or the DOF, they have to have full power over signings and club decisions. I'm sorry, run a club like a top side. Very much on what Jeffers was saying. Iniesta, Andy Howe just turned 31 and got no experience. They should hire a temporary DOF like they did back in 22 with Nick Hammond.
Oh, wow.
Interesting one.
About that.
Yeah, that's an interesting point, actually.
That's deep.
Yeah.
That's deep.
Andrew Borwick, 6370. The issue we are having are down to us. We are a nightmare to deal with, and as we are firm negotiators, so we're setting a number and won't budge from it. Other teams just come in and pay the asking price, which is what you were saying before, Jeffo. And I think, like I said, I think the biggest thing with Eddie Howe is he's stubborn that way. I think he's got a price in his head. He'll go to that price, and I don't know whether that's come from Mitchell or whether it's come from Piff, but it seems as if, like I say, once he's put that final bid in, there ain't no going there. And it's, it does get frustrating because it does look to the likes of us that we're not looking elsewhere. But I'm sure
it wouldn't have come from Piff because Piff have bought everything. I play golf. Piff have changed the entire situation of golf.
Right? Yeah, but what I'm saying is that there's now PSR issues with golf,
I get that,
or boxing or anything else. That's what I'm saying. I don't think it's them. I don't think it's them that's worried about putting money in, mate. I think the problem with us is they are worried about going in gung ho on one player and then not being able, because of the PSR restrictions, on getting several others. So why put your eggs all in one basket?
I've got no idea why we're still in a PSR situation at this stage.
Because we are. That's what I'm saying. No. You've only got rid of 73 million.
No, you get that because we are. Like, how many Geordies buy the shirt? How many, come on, man. We must have more money than that coming in. Like, literally.
Well, like I said, I mean, I'm no financial expert, and I said, potentially this season we've got 150 million. But 150 million doesn't go that far on Premier proven players.
Well, and Buemo for 70, we'll stop him.
Yeah, but what I'm saying to you is if you go into the market with Premier proven players, you're going to get 2 players for 150 million.
We need 5. Yeah,
Well, that's what I'm saying.
I still don't get why they haven't sponsored the training ground. The training kit, I understand, is a bigger thing because you can get a bigger deal if they wait the outcome of the Man City case. But I still think they could have got, even if it was just 30 million for a 2-year deal, like a short-term deal. It gives us a cash injection. So it feels almost negligent. You can't
You're,
just sit and wait. You've got to do something.
yeah, you're absolutely right. And there was a lot of questions about
Totally
what Silverstone had been doing in his tenure. And like I said, when you look at the programs, we are sponsored. You know, you can cover your arm sleeve with the amount of sponsors that we've got, but they're all small boy sponsors. There's a couple of big boys in there, but they are mainly small boy sponsors. My concern with that, and I'm just going to point the finger at that, is the fact that when we talk about fair trade and stuff like that, whether it's a fair market price and value. If we go and get a sponsor from a reputable company, say for 3 years, the problem is because it's only over 3 years, you're only going to get a certain amount of money. Now, I agree. For me, 25 million is better than nothing at all if it's over a 3-year period. And and again, I am no expert in this, and I have no crystal ball, but it wouldn't surprise me whether they've held back because of their vision is to have a brand new training ground, all singing, all dancing, a new ground with all the bells and whistles. And I was expecting that to be signed, sealed, and delivered. And I wouldn't say that the footprint is being sorted, but I don't think they realised how long it was going to take. It's not. We're not in Saudi anymore, where they can just buy a piece of land and knock something up tomorrow. This takes a lot of negotiating and deals, and obviously a lot of red tape to go through. But I believe there is something in the pipeline there. I know there's some plans going in about the old training ground now, to get some cryo machines in there because again. It's about keeping up with the Joneses. There's a lot of clubs out there that have got absolutely out of the world recovery features within their training ground. We have got probably one of the world's renowned people behind designing these things that I believe have been involved in Real Madrid's ground. So that we have got the right people in the right place. My concern is when it comes to the value of what we put in for a 3-year deal, when it comes to the big boys, the likes of Aramco, Saudi Air, Premier League, then Masters is going to come and say, is that fair value? If it's 10 times more that they're offering over a longer period of time. And that's what Wynn brought up. And I never thought of it before, but he's got a point. Whatever we put in now will always be scrutinised in 2 years' time if it's fair value to another sponsor coming in for the training ground, for the training kit. I don't say that's the reason. I think there's a fair argument there. And for me, I think it's about, I'm like you. I think for us to beat this PSR is we've got to get through every loophole there is. Like I said, the women's team, the bloody anything, go and sell something at the back of Rackham's. I'd sell my body at the back of Rackham's, but I'd have to take a bag of change with me to give out.
What it
if
is,
I'm honest.
guys,
Hold on, because there's too many talking.
One second, sorry, guys. But the Saudis don't like doing that. They're not going to turn around and go, oh, yeah, we'll sell the women's team. We'll do this. We'll do that. They're going to turn around and go. I hope they don't, but they might turn around and go. This is not what we envisioned.
Too much red tape.
This is not what we envisioned.
This is what I said before. Bulky, go on, mate.
And the golf, the same. Golf was
with the training ground. I'm not sure whether we actually own that.
We don't.
It's Blue Flames, which is technically all British gas, which is why it's called Blue Flames, basically. So whether we can actually get sponsorship on that ground is questionable.
Okay.
No, but you could get it on the training kits and stuff like that, couldn't you?
Yeah, you could get in the training kits, but not around the actual grounds as such, because it's technically, as I say, British gas ground basically.
Yeah.
So whether that's part of the problem as well,
Possibly, mate. Yeah, possibly.
Yeah.
It does make you wonder whether why they haven't gone down this avenue, to try and get this money on board. Go on then, Amrit.
Gaslighting, Bulky, isn't it?
It is, aye.
We've got a couple more just to get through because I've seen the time. We've been on an hour and 40 already. Wayne Lou 2215. Tired of people keep saying that Eddie improves players. Just bring in class, make them world class instead of bringing in mid EPL players. Again, very much on what's already been said. Steve Waldo, we need quantity over quality. He says. Gillyface has said it wouldn't make a difference if we sold Isak. We'd be still in the same position as we are now, minus a striker.
Wow.
Yeah. Yano Mac. Oh, yeah, I'm not going to say that one. So, Jefferson, are you saying Joe Linton is good enough to play for Brazil, but he's not good enough for Newcastle? He's been immense despite playing many games. Now, I didn't realise that you guys were having an actual chat. So I'm going to leave that one as is. Gillyface again, no news on a new stadium, no news on new players. And this is what I said before. We've been given this promise of everything, and then all of a sudden it's come to a brick wall where there's been nothing mentioned.
There'll be two players in by pre-season.
Listen, I'm with you. That's what I said. I said the 30th of June potentially was where we started to see something happening because we could go back pockets. I don't think that's going to happen.
Why are we? Why? D-Man, Jefferson, Bulky, Gas. Why?
What?
Why are we always going, oh, it's okay, we've got a couple of more weeks left and blah, 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 blah.
Not a couple more weeks. This is a bit different.
Stop it, man, D-Man.
Listen.
Stop it, bro.
The talk,
you know I love you.
The talk is wait till tomorrow and give it a week or 10 days. After that, fair enough. Yeah. But this window has literally just started.
Yeah,
I'm worried.
It is for us.
Before me and Gary came on, we were like, have we got anything to discuss tonight?
Yeah.
Now 1 hour and 42 minutes.
Yeah, right we have.
And we're still discussing the same thing.
If there was silence after the game.
I'm worried about my biceps not being big enough. No, seriously, guys, listen. I'm worried.
I'm worried as well, Emra. I agree with you. And I think, because D-Man, you didn't even realize you already said at the start when you came in about Eddie kind of dug his own hole because he's the one that said we need to move at speed. If he didn't say anything, I think expectations would be low. So you're already thinking.
No, but true. But he also said he wants players in before pre-season. So if he gets the players in before pre-season, then that's okay. If he doesn't, then that's an issue. I think that's where the problem is. You start to get worried.
The promise was 2 players before the 7th, before the players return back. So he's got a week.
Wow.
He's got 1 week to negotiate for 2 players, which was Eddie's words, not mine.
We're going to be Trafford and Elanga, isn't it?
Yeah.
Potentially.
So listen, I'll be honest with you. My 20 quid from DX and a win is coming my way because we ain't got no one that's going to walk in our team straight away.
Nobody walks in our team, bruv. Nobody.
Well, you say that, yeah? So I said that as a bet. Like, go on. What do you mean no one walks in our team?
Who's walked into our team?
Well, who would walk into our team?
No, it doesn't matter who it is. Where's the evidence? Where's the evidence? We've had big players. We've signed big players. Not one of them has walked into the team. The only one was Isak because Wilson was injured.
So
that was it.
The treatment of Tonali and Bruno was laughable.
When I say walked in, it didn't mean walk-in. I mean like genuine players that are going to ease themselves in by October. They'll be regulars.
Trafford and Elanga.
Yeah, and if we got Scalvini, from what I've seen of him, because we know Fabian shares on his last legs now. I mean, the guy's, how old is he? 35?
Yeah.
Because that's the alarming thing for me.
Jamal Lascelles is going to back him up. I don't think so.
That's the thing, yeah. Centre-back's an important one, and I think we need pace. We need pace because I think overutilising But if we're using Hall and Tino or whoever's playing there, we need to be using them that way, not that way. And if they're constantly having a cover for these slow old centre backs, no disrespect, it's not utilising the players well. We want them to be attacking. Do you know what I mean? And that starts with having a pacey centre back that can cover the back line. And all of a sudden, that will affect Tonali as well, potentially. Poor Bruno as well. The amount of times we're seeing him running in treacle trying to get back. Because it's like, you've got to cover these geriatric central defenders.
There's a kind of a theme here. Like, we're talking Livramento, we're talking Hall, we're talking Gay. Eddie Howe loves English players, doesn't he? He really does. Let's be honest.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if it works, I have no issues with the nationality of any player. All I want is to see players of some ilk come into a squad that Eddie's built over time. And like I said, going forward, this could be Eddie's squad. I mean, we're only looking at a couple of players to shift out now, and it's literally what Eddie's brought into Newcastle United. So it's nice to see us moving on from the Steve Bruce days. But we're still nowhere near where we need to be to actually compete on all levels.
It's more like the England squad, guys. Like, we keep going. We get Gay. We can keep going. But, like, I think Eddie really enjoys talking to players at a level where they are able to understand him. Do you understand?
Yeah. Listen, boys, I'm going to call it a night because we have gone on for over an hour and 3/4. And like I said, I want to thank Boki, I want to thank Amrit, I want to thank Jefferson and D-Man off the 90 Mags. Please, if you haven't already, go and have a look at their YouTube channel. Very good. Jefferson and AC are always having a go, and D-Man's always the moderator between the two. Very, very interesting chat. I must come on board with you guys one day.
Really?
Yeah, he stands in the middle of the two of them. He's such the calming influence. Mate, lovely to see you guys, as always. Like I say, thank you. I am going to leave you with a little bit of happiness, though. So don't just jump off because, like I say, there's the video come out of the third strip. I think he's really canny. So it's going to be playing as we leave. Thank you all for watching. Thanks to everybody that's thrown us a super chat and gifted the memberships. Thank you to everybody on the panel. And until tomorrow, same time, 9 o'clock, I'm going to leave you with this. We're the lads and lassies and bands. See you soon.
Peace.
Adored. Once you're in, you're in. Part of the furniture. It becomes who you are. Wherever you are. Being able to do a thing about it. Tino! You're one of us.
How's the break been then?